Old versus new. Which one shall it be for you? Today is a special feature on the history of Jeep. And here the Willys MB, the very original version. 75 years ago the story started. And here the 75th anniversary edition of the Jeep Wrangler. The so-called, you can say, the successor of this very original version. And all the details from both cars, exterior, interior, history and the driving, will be especially fun with this one, will all be today in Autogefühl, your #1 resource for in-depth car reviews and your #1 community to discuss cars with Thomas. Let's now go with all the details in full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go! So we're starting this special feature with the original model, the Willys MB from Willys Overland, the former company. You see also at the number plate, well, it has been built for the Second World War, basically for the purpose of freedom, you know, bringing freedom to Europe and being a very good off-road vehicle for the American soldiers or for the Allied soldiers. Originally just built for a purpose of lasting about 3 months. But this one here, I'm very lucky that this one here lasted longer. Here in the blue, rather blue tone, because this one here was built for the Navy. This one is one of the latest models. So you see from 1945, it fits to the nameplate. That's actually really true. And this front grille, you can see right here, with the vertical gaps and also the round headlights, that one has still remained, you know, the core identity of the Jeep models. You will also soon see it still remain the same, for example, with the Jeep Wrangler. And also interesting, from these Willys MB, over 630,000 cars have been built. So really a massive governmental investment. And that's also how it was called, governmental project, GP. And there's the story that you said GP, Jeep. There it says that the name has derived from. There are several versions from the derivation of the name of Jeep, but this one is one, for example, the local organization here in Germany supports as well as for this story. Very interesting, definitely. So a lot of history in this vehicle here that ultimately lead to the whole brand. 3.32 meters or 10'9" is the total length of this original vehicle, here really for the military purposes. Really short vehicle, but it had to be very agile. And you see also this area here. This will also be kept for the successor model. And so look at the details and try to find some similarities between both cars. What is also interesting that Willys Overland couldn't deliver all of these massive governmental project cars. So also Ford had to build this very car and was kind of half split between both companies. Very interesting story in that respect as well. After the war, there was also followed by a civilian version of this one that was called then CJ, so for civilian Jeep. And you can realize that always because here you already see that the replacement tires fitted on the rear here, and the civilian version had the replacement tire then mounted on the side. Looking at the rear, we see some more nice details. And this one, of course, was more built for form follows function, not for any design purposes, of course. Riddle for you today, maybe Jeep owners or maybe Jeep savvy people know that. What is this for? Tell me that one in the comments and we can solve the riddle together. But one other thing I can already tell you right now, which is also very interesting here, the fuel canister, the replacement refill, has this X form. I think it's designed to give it more stability, the whole structure. But this X form you will also find, for example, in the new Jeep Renegade. You can also find that review on Autogefühl. There they have designed the lights, the taillights, for example, in those X design, also as a reminiscence of the very original model here. And well, how did the story continue? So after this one here, there was the CJ, and then in 1987, the first Jeep Wrangler came to life. Underneath the hood is, by the way, secured with those holders here. I've already released them It's like this and like this. I will also show it. There's a resemblance to the new vehicle. And then it used to be a 2.2 liter petrol engine with 60 horsepower. And really remarkable that at this age, I mean, from so much capacity or displacement, we had so little horsepower. And today it's kind of the other way around. I mean, look at that. This is a really very classic piece here. It says, by the way, also, that's the building year 1945. So it's really amazing to stand in front of a vehicle that has survived the war and was really built in 1945. And now to the Jeep Wrangler, which is so much more modern than the original version of the car. Still has some similarities like the round headlights, also the vertical gaps in the front grille. There are 9 gaps, by the way, in the Willys MB, and here it's 7, just to mention, just for info. Then this is here the 75th anniversary version that is available worldwide with a limited number, so a couple of thousand vehicles are for this special version. And it also features, for example, this military green color. It's called Sarge Green, Sergeant. Then here, those bronze Jeep logo design with the orange background. And we see more bronze contrast right here, for example, at the front grille, and also see them at the side. And we also got those kind of supercharged intakes on the top, although it's not supercharged here, but they are known as supercharged intakes nowadays. And why have they reduced the vertical gaps from 9 to 7? Well, the reason is for passenger cars, for private use, the headlights for security reasons had to be bigger, and then they had to cut 2 on each side to make room for the bigger headlights. I love small details with cars, and you see in here on the windshield, small Jeep climbing up the mountain, very nice. And if you're not coming from Germany and wonder about what this is some European Union bureaucracy thing, you know, that means it's a petrol engine and can go basically everywhere, and some diesel engines have a yellow or red plate that they cannot go into the inner cities anymore. And look beneath the hood for the other model you see here. This is how the stuff is released or closed, and it is really taken from the old model. It's really also a nice emotional detail, and then you can also open the hood. Here it's just another security mechanism nowadays, and you can also pin it up right here. Completely different nowadays, of course. This here is a Jeep V6, 3.6 liter of displacement, 284 horsepower. That's the most common engine here. And somewhere, for example, in Europe, you also get a 2.8 liter diesel with 200 horsepower. That needs 11 seconds from 0 to 100 or 0 to 60 miles an hour. And this one here, the V6, 8 seconds from 0 to 100 kilometers or 0 to 60 miles an hour. So pretty strong engine, still naturally aspirated, and of course set for the off-road purpose. 4 meters 22 or 13 foot 8 is the total length here, so already longer, of course, than the original Willys MB. Here you can also see better this Sarge Green color, which reminds us of this military style. And you can get it either with a soft top, that's the standard version, but also with a hard top right here. So depending on your wish or purpose, the hard top can be removed also in the front. Then you can have some more fresh air. Here with the soft top, I will soon show you from the inside also how to open it in the front. But you can also, see here, it's also not real windows. You can also completely remove it. It takes some effort to unscrew it, everything, but it might be making sense if you're living in a very hot area where you can really also enjoy the sun. And you can see also from those side bumpers that the original style has been kept in this form from the old one to give you a very good off-road feeling. Here in the 75th anniversary version, also those bronze rims. Funny thing is that in Germany, for example, they come as 18-inch, but in US as 17-inch. Sometimes, I mean, usually it's other way around. In US, guys get better rims. I'm not sure why it's the case here. Maybe because of off-road purposes, because US buyers of the Wrangler rather go off-road than the German buyers, for example. And then you see this angular shape that offers you, of course, the most space on the inside, although the car is not that long. Longer would be just the so-called unlimited version. That is then the 4-door version. There's also way longer here. For example, would be, I think, approximately ending here then with 4.75 m or 15'5". This one here, again, the standard version. Also, that is the classic thing here with a full replacement tire mounted in the rear. Third braking light for security reasons. And so you got the very classic setup here also in the rear. We'll soon also open the one here. Angular shape and also this plastic window right here. So that's what Jeep fans really appreciate. This is still the true deal. However, especially here in Europe or Germany, this one here in the special edition 75th anniversary is really expensive. 47,000 euros. Come on. Wow, that's really expensive. However, our guys in the US, our friends there, they pay about $13,000 less. Wow, and that's still, even for the special model, then still achievable price. Axe and spade belongs kind of, well, exterior and interior here with the Willys MB. Very special, I mean, for multi-purpose, of course. And you know, this vehicle here, look at the interior, it's really something completely different and takes a lot of maintenance to keep it up. I mean, this car is over 70 years old as we see it right now. And for that, I think, I mean, it still looks good. Look at the steering wheel. It's really the most simple one you can imagine, and of course you have a direct contact to the wheels, kind of. I will show you also while driving that will need a lot of power. And besides from those seats here and the steering wheel and the instruments for the speed, then that's kind of it for the interior. And it had to be simple, of course, to reduce the costs of this vehicle. And you see the upright windshield. That is also something which is still belonging to the Jeep nowadays. And interesting will be, of course, when I try to get in the car here now. And well, for tall people, it's not that easy. Maybe people used to be a little bit smaller. Were the American soldiers smaller during World War II? It seems like we have some problems to get in here. But it's really a funny feeling. I mean, it's feeling like oh, I'm king of the world here, hitting the brakes and the clutch. It's really funny. All manual work. Sometimes you have to fix something, you know. Here, fixing the steering wheel, it's a little bit tighter again. It's really funny. And it's not really uncomfortable. So if we're talking about SUV convertibles, I think this is an SUV convertible, some kind of, isn't it? So, you know, open top. A lot of fun, for example, driving with it on the beach, I could very well imagine. Of course, I do not ever want to do this, you know, what's the original purpose of this vehicle. Here also with a mirror here, very small, you can hardly see something through there. But you know, from nowadays perspective, it's of course really a classic, and you cannot really compare the interior. So that's, I think, the main difference. Whereas on the outside you can see some nuances that are still really identical to the nowadays, to the new model. The interior is something, you know, where the automotive industry has evolved way more. And if it's really too hot, or maybe the windshield has been shot, I've already released it on the other side, there's always the possibility just to flip the front windshield down to the hood, and there's some soft area where you can lay on, and then you have the pure off-road feeling here. Again, I mean, we have to think about the original purpose. Hope that never is used again in this way, and we just can enjoy this as a normal classic car. But the true reason to flip up or down the front windshield was that on, you know, when you put those ones on ships, you can really put one over the other. Wouldn't work with the front shield up, but if you put it down, then you can put the next one here with a tire right here and just put one over another. Better for transport. It was on the warships. And then the detailed look at the old gauges right here. Really fascinating how simple everything has been. Also here for the oil, for example, fuel stand. I think this is even not really working anymore. And then the shifting lever, and also for the off-road gear reduction, the separate levers. Just funny to see it nowadays. And by the way, this is here the handbrake. My favorite details are those very old plates that, for example, someone coming in the vehicle and didn't have any clue of the vehicle can even learn something, for example, like how the transmission is set up, where to put the stick. And what about the rear passengers? Let's now rate the knee space and the head space we have in this. No, not today. With this car. Just want to show you how it is like here sitting in the rear. Also very funny feeling. You could theoretically also sit with 4 people right here. That would work. Of course, pure open top feeling. You know, you cannot really compare it to nowadays vehicles. So it's really something completely different, especially when you're sitting here in the rear. That here, for example, the Jeep Cherokee. That would be also, you know, one of the successors of those vehicles here. But you see, you know, something of the spirit of this off-road spirit has definitely remained. Now to the current version. It has a simple key, but already with an electronic lock. Then everything really feels pure. Also from the sounds here and from the handles, this conveys the still pure off-road feeling. Also, for example, look at the brown nuances here in the 75th anniversary version. Here also very interesting how the doors are kept here with this textile. And textile also comes with a standard cloth on the seats in the Jeep Wrangler. Here the 75th anniversary version has cloth and animal skin mix. They could have put that one here in leather red. That would be the best solution then for this anniversary version. But usually with the standard versions you'll be just fine with the cloth seats. Also some bronze contrast right here around the vents. And at the floor mats, this one here is a covered version now, but there are also versions of the Wrangler where you can just clean it with a garden hose, and then you can remove a knob and then the water rinses out to the bottom. Great way to clean it. Here it's not really possible because if you lift that one here up, this is kind of fixed here with this floor, but there are, again, as I said, other versions available. Here's still a very classic layout with this Jeep steering wheel. The round setup has remained here, but other than that, there isn't so much to, so much similarities to the very old Willys MB model. That's different to the outside parts. Let's get inside. It's definitely higher than the original model, and the seat can be just manual front and back, and that's already, the maximum position. Me as a tall driver, I would maybe like to sit a little bit more back. Here you can pump up the seats or pull it down and also pull it a little bit more behind. But in general, of course, a very upright seating position, and this is still the same. You have this very steep windshield in front of you, therefore also this nice command view position. Rather dark atmosphere here, as long as I don't have the soft top unmounted here. The soft top is mounted, I told you earlier as well. There's also a hard top version available, and see here, this is here the hard stuff that secures you in case of rolling over, which is not that likely to happen overall. So it's, you can compare it a little bit with the Land Rover Defender as well, with this feeling. You have this pure off-road feeling here, this old school feeling, and a lot of people do appreciate exactly this. You don't have the feeling I'm in a totally modern car. It has a kind of dated feeling, but that also makes it unique. Cockpit overview. See it right here, what is special. It's very steep and, rather angular cockpit, then with those round elements here in the 75th anniversary version, special color. Classic dashboard, really everything is rather classic, and this holder here for the co-driver in severe off-road situations, also 1941, the badge 75 years of Jeep. Here right there, it's also a nice detail. Everything rather simply done, also with hard plastics. It aims to be just durable and not, kind of premium in the style, although Germany, price, especially for this model here, is really in the premium region. The vents here, you can control them quite well. Also, everything is kind of thick and big. It's good, for example, in off-road purpose use, that you can easily reach stuff. Here is, by the way, you can also get it electrically here for the windows up and down, and you put the key classically right in here. And also have some buttons already at the steering wheel for phone or for the cruise control. And we can make some more light here for the interior. I've already released it at the right side, and then you can just flip the roof back here. That would be the first step. You can also completely release it. It hangs down here right now. So we have some more light here in the interior then. And this again, also here to nowadays, still some kind of SUV or off-road convertible. And this is the setup now with the soft top removed. That's how I like it, especially for driving in hot temperatures. Another detailed look at the instruments. This one in the lower part is not flickering in real life, by the way. So kept really simple. Here also with this off-road look of the red zone of the RPM meter. And the infotainment system, again not flickering. This is really just CD player, radio, and that's it. This top sound system we have mounted here is, however, quite nice for the car. Here it is. It's from Alpine, and for example also big speakers already in the front. The Jeep Wrangler still comes with an off-road gear reduction. This is a normal automatic shifting lever. And this one here is done for the off-road gear reduction. And you can either get the Command Track off-road system or the Rock Track off-road system in a higher trim level, or optionally the Rock Track is for more severe off-road purpose than with some other ratios and stuff. But here you can, for example, set like it went to two-wheel drive, just rear-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, or also then 4L. This is then the gear reduction for really slow off-road riding, and you should pull it back. And of course you have to be in neutral to change it then to this off-road gear reduction. Getting in the rear, you see this lever here, and I can also push that one on the driver's side, and then I can get in the rear. I can even pull the seat a little bit upward. That's a nice system then. This one here, the standard version, and for about 3,000 euros extra you can get the unlimited version. That is then, as I said, in the exterior, the one with 4 doors. Here the classic 2-door version. And in the rear you sit also rather upright, and it's good that you have some spared out parts, because this one here is really low. And I think I would also feel better as the rear passenger here when I would drive with the open top. Here it gets quite close, but it would still work. As I would be driving, I would probably have the seat like this, and then, well, it doesn't fit with my knees then anymore. So when they're too tall, driver and co-driver, that won't fit with big adults in the rear, so you can forget about that, at least in this wheelbase version here. But again, this kind of adventurous feeling here in the rear, and it will be even improved if you totally open the soft top. If you have the hard top, the rear part cannot be removed, and it's just the front part that can be removed. Storage spaces. This is the glove box, rather small. Some net in the front, and then beverage holders right here, a little bit adaptive with rubber. And then here in the middle console you have one maybe for purse or phone, and then it goes quite deep in there with a 12-volt DC. Oh, really tight here and there it is. And also a USB port to charge your phone, so at least some modern amenities. And the trunk area is, basically very limited, but a nice opening. You can access something right here. You can also lift this area here up like this, and well, sound system is, for example, right here. You can put some hinges right in there, but more interesting is really you can also move this part here up. If I would then unlock all of this manual and stuff. It's easier with that when you have the hardtop mounted, then you just flip it up right easy, but it depends really what you like, hardtop or softtop. Now let's start with the Willys MB. First the key, the ignition, and then a special foot pack to start the car. Everything is shaking and vibrating. It's really funny. No seat belts, by the way, and nowadays wouldn't be allowed here. In this case, exceptionally allowed for this vintage car. First gear is, this is kind of neutral here. This is the first gear, and I'm not used to the clutch here with this vehicle. Oh, release the handbrake, yes, of course. Turning this like in the front and left, and then I can also start driving. Let's see. Steadily with the clutch. Really have to get used to it. And of course here there's no electronic support for the steering wheel. So this is really manual work done. Really a lot of fun. And of course you have to calculate every corner that you can really make the corner and don't damage anything of the other vehicles. You see it here in the front here at the event. A lot of other nice vehicles we have here. Cherokee, Grand Cherokee, Jeep Renegade, and of course here the vintage one. And I love driving convertibles, so this is, well, in one way also a very suitable one for you. Turning indicators here also in the front, manually put them front and the back, and wow, you have to really hammer the brakes that something is overall happening, so always be careful with that. And I'm a little bit afraid to go on public roads with this precious vehicle. I don't want to damage it, so I will ride very, very carefully. Yeah, the clutch is something very special with this vehicle. There it is. Turning indicators again on left, yes, still have it. And now release it to the neutral one. Second gear. This. Yeah, I managed a second gear. So it's really an adventure just shifting this vehicle. And I mean, you have an upright seating position, it's not really uncomfortable. Of course, I would put on my sunglasses now, but I'm not doing it just for you guys, that you can also look me in the eye. Usually I would always ride with sunglasses here. And today it's really that hot that we could also ride with the windshield down. American soldiers did that because it was kind of cool, but then, the German soldiers, they were putting some traps that could really behead you. And so there was sometimes also a metal pole in the front of the car that protected the soldiers, and again, even if they were riding with windshield down. Today we'll keep the windshield up also for our second camera, and here again a lot of work even in a 90-degree corner. I could very well imagine, going with a lot of friends here inside, maybe with some beverages, and then going to a lake. Of course the driver won't drink, that's for sure. That would be me then in this case, but I have no problem with it. I rather prefer driving cars than drinking alcohol. So now, I had a turning indicator on the right all the time. It's really some coordination in your head is necessary. Now again to first gear. There again. Hammer that throttle. Listen to the sound as well. Second gear. Okay, turning indicator is off. Also, it's very funny that the needle for the speed is always jumping a little bit, so you shouldn't trust on that. I just trust on my basic feeling and the car experience, how fast I'm really going. And this is really here pure freedom. Of course, everyone looking around us here like, oh, what's happening here? So really funny feeling driving, and I'm surely enjoying it. I would recommend you to go maybe on a vintage car ride. It's really a lot of fun as long as you go slow. But I'm also glad with modern cars that we have modern security systems. Even seatbelts, for example, the most basic things. And of course, modern assistance systems that keep you safe, and also this support on the steering wheel. You see here in this area, nothing is happening. What do you think, guys? Really a lot of fun. Now turning indicator again to the left side. Brakes. Oh! So braking is really hard. Giving it some clutch for the second gear. Acceleration. Come on, come on. Let's go. Third gear, what about third gear? Third gear now. Yeah, we managed to put in the third gear. So we have almost every gear beside the reverse gear, and then we would have every gear selected. Also with a nice front view. It's really a kind of panoramic front view because we have this steep screen here in front of us. You can enjoy nature, seeing some horses here. Yeah, it should be around 40 kilometers an hour we're driving right now. On a hot and sunny day like today, it's also nice feeling, but driving it in winter times, that will be very cold. You should maybe get a big coat then to be able to survive in this car. And I think the most complicated thing here is really the coordination between all of the manual elements you have to learn again, and also just hitting the clutch and really pressing the brakes. I think this is the biggest difference. If you want this car to brake, you have to press it with all you can, with all you have. So, first gear now. Oh, that's reverse, thank you. I got the expert with me. Yeah, that's because first gear is usually here in the front, but that's here then reverse. So you have to put it here again to the first gear. Sometimes you have to roll the car a little bit that the gear is set in. So you really have to get used to it. And sometimes you just forget it then because you're used to normal car riding. And here we go again. And second gear, come on, where it is? Something is a little bit hard, there it is. People behind me are wondering a little bit, but I hope they support me on this vintage run here. Now we're going faster. Third gear. Really enjoying this. I hope everyone behind us also as well. We also see the Jeep in front of us. That's the other one. Hey, there we are. It was another vintage Jeep facing to us, a little bit later built. But this one here is really the original stuff. And I mean, who would have believed that 75 years ago this one here was built for war purposes and to ensure freedom in a country ruled by Nazis, which, you know, every German should still be ashamed of. And nowadays this car can be used for a fun ride and just for pure enjoyment. Glad it turned out that way, definitely. So really a special ride with that one. The only vehicle you can, for example, compare it to is, for example, a Land Rover Defender. There you also have, with a true genuine models, also such a ride here with a lot of manual work and still this high seating position, and probably also the first SUV convertible in the world ever. So now the Jeep Wrangler. Here, by the way, you can adjust the steering wheel in height, not in length, but still okay. Automatic gearbox, and now 8 seconds was the acceleration figure, 0 to 100 kilometers or 0 to 60 miles an hour. And we will search our Willys MB. Where is it? There it is! And we'll ride together also here now with the Willys. So old and new also together with the riding here today. And we've opened the top here now to compare the riding feel a little bit. Well, it's of course way different. The first thing is surely the steering that has this electronic support here, so it's really easy to steer the car. The steering is also not direct at all, and that has also a reason, because this is primarily also an off-road car, and those off-road cars, they really need a rather indirect steering. That off-road you can, if you maybe something is, on the ground and your tires are moving, then not the whole steering wheel is thrown over, and you can really steer very precisely while off-road riding. So that's very important, and then you also have to live with that in road driving you have to steer a little bit more. Compact steering wheel gives you a good feeling, however, and open top riding is a lot of fun. So it doesn't need to have a more than SUV convertible to enjoy that one. You can also have it right here, even if it requires some more work. I mean, the short opening we've shown you earlier today, that one can be done quite easily, also while driving theoretically, but then you can't drive too fast with that one. Here, maximum is about 100 kilometers an hour, then it gets rather uncomfortable. But here now at warm temperatures, it's really nice to drive it also with the open top here. Oh, police behind us. I hope they won't follow us. I just want them to, yeah, and Theo police. Not that we're doing anything illegally, but you know, are you also a little bit nervous when police is behind you? At least I am, even if I'm not doing nothing wrong. So we're catching up to our Willys MB again. It was great to have this accompanied ride. Oh, a little bit of off-road riding here as well. And that is of course the terrain of the Wrangler. Nice thing. We won't need the off-road gear reduction here. We don't even need the all-wheel drive for that one here. We're just keeping here in the rear-wheel drive. That one is still enough because in the new normal 2 mode here, that is perfectly fine. Just to drive with the rear-wheel drive. So just coordinating with the colleagues there in the front. Special ride here today just for you guys in our special feature. And so when we're going off-road, then I would go to the 4 mode for the 4-wheel drive mode. Suspension wise, of course, it's also set on off-road. We have a lot of way that the suspension can go deep in there. And that makes the riding also relatively soft. So you cannot drive that agile in a stiff way with that car. It's also not the purpose. However, as we get the very short wheelbase here now with the car, especially in this short version here, that one helps you to drive agile as well. So not suspension wise, as you can see right now, the car is tilting a little bit to the sides. But you know, from a turning circle and so on, being a city, the car is rather agile. So that's also a nice thing, definitely. And I just enjoy this open top riding. It's really a great thing. This engine here is not tuned to have the most power output. So we have a lot of displacement. That is more an old off-road concept, that you have higher displacement figures and not too much horsepower from it to make the engine durable and also capable in off-road riding situations. And so it doesn't feel it would have the most power here when going on the road driving trip. But for the customers here, for this car, it's also more important to have the durability. And what's also funny, especially driving with open top and here also with the setup the car has, it feels like you would go faster. You know, we have this, you know, in modern premium class sedans and so on, they always make you feel, you know, you drive like 100 kilometers an hour and it feels like 30. And here it's more like the other way around. It's a little bit like riding a motorcycle or a little bit like riding the old one. So a little bit of heritage is still in this car. For example, when riding 40 kilometers an hour, it feels like 60 or something like that, you know, maybe you get the feeling. Biggest difference to the old model is definitely, to me, the brakes. Because here you don't need to hammer it that strong, and also with the old car, with the Willys MB, if you hammer the brakes, the car pulls you a little bit to the left side. That's not happening here, of course. And that is, you know, one of the biggest achievements, that you can very much easier brake. So a really great setup must be also for people looking from the outside, those two vehicles after each other. Nice to form such a convoy here. And you always hear the Willys sound and you smell it as well. It really smells. That's better with this car here, of course. Due to this big displacement here in the car, you get very harmonic acceleration. So the car doesn't feel that it would be working very much. It's all very easily done. And I mean, it's a relatively big engine for a relatively small car. And that of course makes a lot of sovereignty when driving this car. So you don't need to hammer the throttle to get a lot of power. You can very steadily and harmonically drive that car. So the driving feeling that is conveyed here. You get some of the modern style, but the heritage always drives with you in the Jeep Wrangler, and fans of the Jeep Wrangler especially appreciate that with this vehicle, that you can combine heritage having still a rather modern car. And Well, there's no Apple CarPlay in here, so you have to forget about that so far, but that will surely change then. Oh, guys in the Willys having some fun there in the front. That will surely change with a new Jeep Wrangler in 2018. And you see, this is also a car that has a very, very long life cycle. Also accounts for this generation, because customers demand that it has a rather steady development. But I always find remarkable also when looking to the front, you have this command seating position, upright seating position, which makes it comfortable on the long-term run. And you see this strong hood, especially with those air outtakes here in the 75th anniversary generation. And there's always something emotional when looking to the front here. Seeing something, you know. And also very good visibility to all of the sides because of this square layout of the car. So that is again an advantage, and at the same time serve, of course, as this iconic design function. So see here, rather long steering wheel is needed, but still rather light to control steering wheel, and that is also a major difference. Here it's not all manual work. Here you got the electronic support, but still I think it's a good compromise if you want to have kind of both, a little bit of the old style and a little bit of the new modern classic. And that's it about this Jeep Wrangler, and I hope you enjoyed really both of our rides. I really did, in this special feature for Autogefühl. Be it the old one or the new one, also to me this was a very impressive feature of Autogefühl. It's always great to compare old versus new, even if, you know, a direct comparison is, you know, not really fair in this case, but it's just fun to do it, of course, to see where is the heritage, what have they carried over, what's the core of the brand, and how has automotive development been gone. And I hope you enjoyed that one as well. Here, of course, especially when driving, everything is manual work, and this was really, you know, built for the one purpose, and you can see it on a lot of details here, and especially how much a car interior has evolved. The Jeep Wrangler, still a very iconic car, and I think it's kind of the mix if you want this old spirit but transported into a modern car, even if the Wrangler itself, meanwhile, is a little bit outdated. And the all-new model will follow then in 2018. However, it is still a very unique feeling when driving it. I mean, the off-road features, those ones, that's a really unique thing of the Jeep Wrangler, and this is maybe also the main reason why people would still go for it. Everything else, a lot of solutions we see are not really, you know, handy for the everyday driving life, and there are also, you know, a lot of other vehicles that offer more space, are more versatile, practical, better to drive, more comfortable, and so on. You know, that's not the main factor for this car. And of course, especially in Europe and Germany, the car is really expensive, especially here in this 75th anniversary edition, which is even more, you know, attractive as for the outer appearance for the car. But for our friends in the US, for example, it's still, you know, relatively achievable car to get to, you know, this true iconic Jeep feeling. Then what can we conclude overall? Well, what is the future holding? For example, Sergio Marchionne, the FCA Corporation boss, he is also promising some plug-in hybrid vehicles for the future for the whole brand. Also for the several brands, they have the Alfa Romeo, Fiat, and also with the Jeep, because that one still is lacking a little bit. So they try to stress the tradition, the heritage. But what's the future holding? You know, where is this, for example, hybrids coming, and also about more sustainability? I think they shouldn't forget about that. Yes, you have a true core fan group, you know, with all of the old vehicles and the off-road fans, but you always have to think about the future as well. And I hope we could deliver you a great insight here today for the comparison old versus new. And of course, we want to hear your opinion. Which one do you like better? What do you think about the history behind the car and also the features nowadays? And maybe you're a Wrangler owner, and give us some of your experience with this very iconic car. Thank you very much for watching Autogefühl. I hope you like it. Give us a thumbs up and also join us next time for be it a full review, a feature, or whatever we're going to deliver you. Thanks for watching. Bye.